Hey there, welcome to Cooking with Cardboard. My name is Ben. You can find me on Twitter at, I always get on and at backwards, on Twitter at cardboard_cooks.
Hey, I'm Martin, and you can find me at golem_MTG. This week we're going to be talking about battles, and more battles. So, new card type doesn't happen that often. Last new card type was Planeswalkers 15 years ago, 20 years ago, quite a while. So we're going to talk about what a battle is, how it works, and what cards and interactions you should be aware of.
Yes, new card type. It's the first new card type that I've seen since I first started playing Magic, so I'm already kind of shaky. I'm like, oh, is this going to make Magic broken or not an enjoyable experience? But I think it's from what I understand so far, and hopefully Martin, you'll explain it to me a little better today. I think it's overall going to be good for the game.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool thing. There's always this problem where they do new types of cards, they get broken, but they were able to do like the sub card types of sagas lately that weren't broken. Sagas didn't end up being broken, even though it was not a whole new card type; it was a new card subtype.
Yes.
When they did vehicles and equipment for the first time, both of those they broke completely. They screwed it up and made them way too powerful. Like Skull Clamp was a huge mistake back whenever equipment were first created, and then in vehicles it was broken with.
Was it Parhelion?
No, that card wasn't good until the Reanimator deck in Pioneer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that card was unplayable anywhere until that happened. So, yeah. I mean, I guess it's some EDH play, but the card that was broken was the Looter Scooter. The
Looter Scooter.
It's a 2-mana flyer, 3/3. When it attacks or blocks, you draw and discard.
Oh, okay.
It just went in every single standard deck like that. It didn't matter what your deck was, you played it. The crew cost was so cheap, and then the loot effect was so good. And it was good stats. It had evasion. It was just too good a card. Which so far I don't think any of the new battles are that way. But let's get into it first.
Absolutely.
So what is a battle? Battle is a new card type. It's not a type of enchantment. It's not a type of creature. It's just a battle. However, there are subtypes of battles. Right now, all of the cards we've seen are only sieges. And so all of the sieges will play the same as other sieges. We don't know how future battles will go, but this is the first iteration.
Wow.
And the first one I want to talk about, I'll just go ahead and use a card as a reference. Infusion of Tarkir. Have you seen that one?
I have not. Infusion of Tarkir?
Invasion of Tarkir.
Oh.
So each of the invasion cards, they're all invasions, all of the sieges, and they're all an invasion of a different plane. So the story from this set is Elish Norn has corrupted the world tree and is now spreading out across the multiverse because she wasn't a planeswalker, so the Phyrexians were always kind of bound to their plane, and they had a hard time going from plane to plane. So she corrupted this tree so that she can now open up portals to all over the multiverse. And so that's what this set is. She is attacking all these different planes, and each one has its own battle.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it is. And that's one of the cool things about the set. We talked about it a little bit last week, where the set has a lot of team-ups from different people across the multiverse. But these are the battles that they team up at. Okay, so Invasion of Tarkir, Battle Siege. It says when it enters the battlefield, you choose an opponent to protect it. So all of the sieges will do this. So enters battlefield. If you're playing 1v1, your opponent just protects it. But if you're in a group game like Commander, you get to pick which opponent will be protecting it. And only that player can block if it is attacked. You and other players can attack the battle. So in a Commander game, any of the players that are not currently defending it can attack it, and it comes in with a certain amount of loyalty, basically. They have 5 counters for this one. It comes into play with 5 counters on it. And whenever the last counter is removed, then it is exiled. So it's called when it's defeated, and it's defeated whenever you remove all the counters in any way. it's exiled. And then you can cast it from exile transformed. And the casting cost for all of these is 0. So basically, you knock this thing out through combat or other means, and then you cast the backside. Now, it has the ETB. All of them do, which is really cool. So when Invasion of Tarkir enters the battlefield, you can reveal any number of dragon cards from your hand. And when you do, Invasion of Tarkir does X plus 2 damage to any other target. So it can't target itself. Where X is the number of cards revealed this way. So if you reveal 0 dragons, you would do... you have to reveal
at least one.
At least one, because X cannot be 0. So you have to have at least a dragon card in your hand to cast it.
Oh.
And so that would do 3 damage for 1, 4 damage for 2, and so on and so forth.
Gotcha.
And it can go face. Or another battle can be hit by it. So
yeah.
I really like this card. I think it's really good.
Very nice.
And then when you can exile it and cast the backside, you get a flying, trampling 4/4 dragon. And whenever a dragon you control attacks, you can shock any target. So 2 damage to any target.
Wow, that's powerful.
Which includes battles. Battles can be direct burned as long as the card says any target or literally says battle.
Yeah, that's the one thing I did see this week was like the cards that are targeting any permanent are gonna they're even more. You should include them even more now with battles because they just got stronger, which is like kind of cool.
Yeah, it really is cool. The thing that we're going to talk about here in a little bit once we get past some of these spoilers is that it's hard to interact with these, and a lot of board wipes won't get rid of them. You need the kind of board wipes like Undo Inversion where you destroy all non-land permanents.
Oh yeah, for your Farewell.
So, yeah, Farewell doesn't do it.
Oh, it doesn't. It's not listed on the... Oh, I just thought about that. Wow, I'm so used to Farewell hitting everything.
Yeah, no, Farewell doesn't do it. The typical Wraths don't do it. What's it called? The white 4 colorless, you get to pick 2 of the 4. Where you can destroy small creatures or big creatures or enchantments or
Austere
artifacts.
Command, maybe?
Yeah, Austere Command. You can get this... it's just like you don't have a lot of ways to actually remove them, and if you want to use damage to remove them, you're actually helping the person.
That's interesting.
But that being said, they don't really do anything on the battlefield unless you jump through some hoops, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
Okay.
So does that make sense? Do you have any questions?
I guess the only question I would have is you're still obeying the time restrictions once it is defeated.
No.
You do it instantly.
You just do it right then.
Oh.
So this is a lot like there's certain cards in the game that allow you to cast a card right whenever the thing happens. While some cards will say you can cast it until end of turn, which will then require you to follow timing restrictions.
Yeah, okay.
But if they say if X happens, you cast it, it doesn't matter if it's a creature or a sorcery or whatever.
Interesting.
It's going to be castable at that moment. So you could see play this past turn, end of turn, shoot some direct damage at this thing, and it blows up, and then you get a flying trampler at the end of somebody else's turn.
Instant, yeah. So it does have that kind of. That'll be really fun for the combat trick shenanigans with them, especially if pre-release. Oh, that's so exciting. Okay, yeah, that was really my only confusion. That makes sense though. Good explanation.
Yeah. Well, so it makes sense because if it says when it's defeated, exile it and then cast it transformed. You wouldn't be able to do that at all unless you were casting an instant, because this is happening during combat.
Oh, okay.
If you attack it, you would never be able to cast it.
Yeah, I see.
So you have to be able to cast it out of phase. Okay. So I like this one a lot. This one can do a lot of damage. I imagine every Dragon EDH deck will want to run this. The burn for removal is good. 5 is easy as 1 dragon hitting it will blow it up, and then when it flips, you get a Dragon Lord of sorts. So pretty cool.
Yeah, it's almost as like that Terror of the Peaks, where it's like you have another way to deal damage when you're attacking with dragons versus ETB.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, more direct damage.
Next up, we have Invasion of Kaldheim. It is another battle siege. I don't know if I can say that word. For 3 colorless and a red. It has, when it ETBs, exile all cards from your hand, then draw that many cards. Until the end of your next turn, you may play cards exiled this way. and it starts at 4 health points, hit points. What do we call those, Martin?
I'm not really sure.
We're gonna call them battle points. I don't know.
Defense?
Defense makes sense. Yeah.
Defense counters?
Defense counters.
That's not the right one. I like it. Defense
Yeah,
counters. So we'll stick with that for now.
I like it. Defense counters. So 4 defense counters, and then once it is defeated, it flips into Pyre of the World Tree. It is an enchantment. It has discard a land card, and Pyre of the World Tree deals 2 damage to any target. Whenever you discard a land card, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. Wow.
Yeah, this one's really good.
Yeah.
Surprised this one's not mythic.
Oh, it's not, is it? Wow.
No, it's a rare.
Whew.
So, wheels traditionally, the downside of wheels is that you don't get to play the cards that were in your hands. You have to discard them or whatever, right? Or shuffle them back into your deck. But this one gives you 1 turn to be able to cast those cards. So if you're looking at your hand, you got like 6 cards and you really only care about casting 1 or 2.
Yeah.
As long as you know you can cast those 2 cards next turn, you just go ahead and wheel them away, and then you draw a new hand, and you can still cast the cards from last turn, which is just, I think, really strong in Commander. Not sure this is fast enough for something like Standard, but it is definitely really good for Commander. And in fact, I could see this being a lands matter deck, with the ways to play lands from your graveyard.
Oh, yeah.
So you just discard your lands, exile the top card, you can play that, you can play lands from the graveyard after you shock something. Just gives you a lot of value, like maybe an Omnath kind of deck.
Yeah, it seems really good. I feel like every time they reprint something that wheels for just yourself or wheels in general, I'm happy because I feel like the the Wheel of Fortune is so expensive. I'm like, ugh, get me away from that. But this one only wheels for you too, which is interesting. It's not like,
right.
I know people tend to run those effects like Narset, where it's like you'll run something that prevents your opponents from drawing, and then you'll wheel everybody and nobody else gets to draw, and it's like kind of feel bad. So they kind of avoided that situation as well.
Yeah, I think they try and do that as a safety mechanism kind of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one's good. I like it. I think it'll be good in Commander. Even if you're not trying to flip it, if somehow it gets randomly flipped, then you have something to do with your extra lands. Basically, every land says cycle it for free and do 2 damage.
Yeah, which is not nothing. I mean,
pretty good.
Yeah.
All your late game land drops you can turn into value. So pretty cool.
Very nice.
Next up is Invasion of Karsus. It's a red, and 2 colorless. When it enters the battlefield, it deals 3 damage to each creature and each planeswalker. It starts with 4 defense counters. Once it is defeated, you can cast the backside Refraction Elemental. It's a creature elemental. It's a 4/4. It's got ward, pay 2 life. And whenever you cast a spell, Refraction Elemental deals 2 damage to each opponent. So it's a Gutter Snipe ability, which is a thing in some decks. Can go pretty hard in some decks, so that's a nice another bonus. Those also have a tendency to deal lots of direct damage, so it's fine. Not great, but fine.
Yeah, I feel like the art on the refraction looks pretty sweet. I mean,
yeah,
I think
and I don't know. Oh no,
I was just saying though that it's interesting. You play it, and I imagine these battles you kind of like want to be in a position to encourage others to attack it or yourself attack it somehow. And this one kind of clears the board, so it's like the opposite, unless you have big guys. I don't know. That's interesting.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think this is more of a standard card, is what I'm guessing. I'm guessing it's some kind of control deck where you try and, keep the board clear, and then later you can incrementally kill this, which will then give you this 4/4 beater. That's
it kind of reads as like it wants to like combo an EDH too, where it's like, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you cast a spell, you can just kind of go nuts. I recently watched the Worst Commander show.
Oh, nice.
TGB. Have you seen
I love that one. Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. TGB's and his crew are pretty chill people.
Yeah.
But one of them had a Gutter Snipe out with Arcane Bombardment, and they just killed the whole table in like one turn.
Dude, I'm like halfway through that episode. I saw him get the arcane with the first
I'm
two
sorry.
spells. No, you're good. You're good. I thought that game was pretty much over. That's interesting. I'll definitely still finish. They're so funny on that channel.
Yeah, they're good. But I don't know what Karsus is, so hopefully that's a planes we'll visit at some point. The art looks pretty cool. They look like they got the monks, some elementals. I don't know.
Yeah, that monk looks pretty badass. Again, though, the elemental, it looks like pretty metal card.
Yeah, it does. One of my favorite battles is next. How about you read Invasion of Shandalar?
Shandalar. Is it like the oh no, it's not like the Chandelier. I'm an idiot. Okay. Invasion of Shandalar. It is, guess what? Another Battle Siege. It is 3 colorless and 2 green pips. It has, when it ETBs, return up to 3 target permanents from your graveyard to hand. And then it flips into Leyline Surge. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may put a permanent card from your hand onto the battlefield. And I'm realizing that all of these... No, they don't. All of these do not flip into enchantments. I'm dumb. That one is also an enchantment, though.
Yeah, both ones you've read have been enchantments.
Oh, and it starts at... I don't know if I said that. It starts at 4 defense points or counters.
Yeah.
That's... interesting. I'm a little upset that they called this Leyline Surge. Whenever I hear Leyline, I always think of those cards that are like, if this is in your opening hand, you can.
Yeah.
It seems like interesting.
Well, Leyline it's kind of like a line of energy that can be harnessed. I mean, there's ley lines and like lots of like, magical mythoses and world building. They just have happened to have been mostly those free to cast spells if you have them in your opening hand.
Yeah, but what do you think of this one? It gives me kind of like what is the card? You can free do this and put it back on top of your library. That's not back to hand though. I don't know.
No, so you're talking about Noxious Revival?
Yeah.
No. So the reason why I think this card is very interesting is a couple things. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you return 3 target permanent cards from your graveyard. And then this card does not get exiled. So a lot of those effects, like Restock, will say, like, 5 mana, get 2 cards from your graveyard back, exile this card. So you don't have these loops, right? But you could see with Invasion of Shandalar, you could easily find a way to sack this. Lots of stack permanent things, like the new... Staff of Completion lets you sacrifice permanents. So you could stack this and get it back with Eternal Witness, which then this can get back Eternal Witness, and you just got an endless loop, right? Where you're up cards. So they don't seem to care too much about loops where you only get 1 card back, so Eternal Witness for another Witness effect.
Yeah.
But here you're able to get the Witness back plus Wraths or Threats or whatever.
Yeah, your engine, whatever. Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay. So this card, you're thinking blinking into like combo or just like high value situation.
High value situation that you can loop.
Yeah.
Like end loops to try and keep people out of the game and try and close it out. The backside is nice, but I think I would probably not worry too much about getting that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hoop to jump through to get that, but that is a good effect.
It's a really good effect.
Every
Any
upkeep,
permanent?
drop,
Yeah.
Eldrazi or something.
Yeah.
Nice.
So there's no way you can't cheat battles into play on their flip side. You can only cheat them onto the battlefield as the battle, right?
So far, that's correct.
Okay,
I mean,
I'm just
I
making
imagine
sure.
one day they will create a card that says play a battle.
A flipped
backside.
battle. Oh yeah. Eventually, yeah.
It might be like 10 years from now, but I'm sure eventually that'll happen.
I gotcha.
Next one I think is pretty cool. It's a rare Invasion of Ixalan.
Ooh.
Which is like pirate.
We've been to Ixalan. I know that much. I don't know much, but
Yep, and we're going back. We're going back this year.
Oh, I heard underground, right?
Yeah, it's supposed to be underground or
Whatever that means. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
So Invasion of Ixalan is a green and a colorless. It's got 4 defense counters. When it ETBs, look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may reveal a permanent card from among them and put that into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. So we don't actually have the flip side of this card. but we do know it's going to flip into a 4/3. But I really like this, and I wanted to bring it up because this is the second one in a row in green that gives you like permanence matter advantage on ETB. So if you're able to find ways to blink these in and out, then you're going to be getting that value over and over and over again.
Yeah. Huh.
So,
yeah, I mean, green is like one of the most popular colors in EDH2 for the ramp, so it's like those are probably going to be, the battles are going to be very popular. Plus, notoriously, green plays a lot of creatures, so they'd be incentivized to play battles, right? Naturally.
Right. They can easily knock them out. One of the things that I think is interesting on these is that in one-on-one, you're not really going to want to attack the battles a lot because you're like, I could do 5 damage to this battle, or I could do 5 damage to my opponent's face. It's kind of like in Planeswalker situations, you usually attack the Planeswalkers because you're in a position where if I don't get rid of the Planeswalker, they will have incremental advantage and win the game before I can kill them. While once the battle's out, it's not doing anything. Killing it's not going to, stop something from happening. Instead, it gives you something extra. While a lot of times you just want to kill the opponent. But in Commander, I think there'll be lots of situations where you're like 5 damage to a battle instead of 5 damage to an opponent is not going to be much to sacrifice.
Yeah.
Because 5 damage to a player is only such a small % of their life total.
I didn't really think about that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, though.
So I do think a lot of the battles will be better in Commander than they are in
standard or other formats. Yeah, that actually brought up another point I just thought about, is if you give somebody a battle, most of the cards that say sacrifice X, Y, and Z is not sacrifice like anything. It usually tells you sacrifice a creature or an artifact or an enchantment.
That's why it needs to be a permanent. So that's why I mentioned Staff of Completion. Because you can pay 1 life and tap it to sack a permanent of any kind. Also, there's like there was a free one, something of Gix, I think. It's 0 mana artifact. You can pay 1 and sack any permanent. But yeah, there's there's a lot of things you can't do with these cards just because you needed to say any permanent, whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
Removal or bounce or flicker or whatever you're doing, it has to say any permanent.
Yeah. Huh.
Or literally say battle, but then that means it's a
yeah, we're waiting on those basically still.
Right.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay, next one's the Invasion of Ikoria. Could you tell us about that one?
Ikoria, yes sir. Let me just find. All right. Oh my gosh, this one looks freaking sweet.
Yeah, the art is so dope.
Wow. Yeah, art is very, very sweet on this one. Okay, Invasion of Ikoria. Ooh, this is the first X spell we have. Okay, so it's X in 2 green pips for a battle siege. It starts at 6 defense points, defense counters. I keep saying both. When it ETBs, search your library and or graveyard for a non-human creature card with mana value X or less and put it onto the battlefield. If you search your library this way, shuffle, and then it flips into Zilortha Apex of Ikoria, a giant cloud dinosaur. It is a legendary creature dinosaur. It has reach, and it has, for each non-human creature you control, you may have that creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. And it is an 8/8. Is this can't be your commander, can it, Martin?
What? No.
Okay. I was like, wait.
I don't think
wait
so.
a second.
That would be really cool if you could, though. That's another. Who is it? The Rocco?
Yeah.
This would be a mono green tutor commander.
Mr. Chef.
I wonder if what do you call it? Like a Rule 0 conversation. Maybe somebody would be okay with that.
Yeah. I feel like as long as you're not tutoring out like a winning combo, they don't care. But I don't know. The art in this looks sweet.
Yeah.
It's basically, oh my god, the one that always gets the Dryad. What is it called?
Oh, Green Sun Zenith.
Yeah, it's like a Green Sun Zenith, kind of.
Yeah, it's kind of like a Green Sun Zenith, except it doesn't shuffle back. Instead, it turns into an 8/8 at some point. Yeah. But the card I think it's most similar to is Finale of Devastation.
Oh, yeah.
It's got the same casting cost. Finale of Devastation can go for any creature X or less. In this case, it has to be a non-human creature card. And then it doesn't have the clause about getting X plus X damage, which I guess in exchange you get Zilortha, Apexa Vicoria, giant 8/8 beater that basically allows you to attack without being blocked. So, which is also very good. Zeothora's ability is good to be able to remove other sieges. So I imagine you'd play this. It does combo with a card where you can pay 4 mana into this and immediately flip into the Zeothora as long as you have a certain creature in your deck. I'll tell you what that one is later, but for now, we'll keep an eye out for that.
This one screams CDH for me because you're just getting Dockside. It feels like if you're running Finale or in your deck already, it's another copy of that. This one seems really good.
Yeah, I think so too. I think this card is one of the better ones in general.
Also, that Cloud Dinosaur is just beautiful. Yeah.
Okay, next one is Invasion of Segovia. It's a blue and 2 colorless for a 4 defense battle siege. When it enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 blue Kraken creature tokens with trample. Yeah,
1/1 trample. Let's go.
Yeah, so Segovia is a world that we haven't visited much, but it's a miniature world where whenever we would planeswalk there, you would shrink 2. But now I guess since they use the world tree, they need to get shrunk. So that's why you see the giant foot. So they're teeny tiny. That's why they're 1/1 blue Kraken creature tokens.
It's pretty cute.
Yeah, and if you flip it, it turns into Catus, Sea Tyrant of Segovia. It's a 3/3 legendary creature serpent. Non-creature spells you cast have Convoke. And at the beginning of your end step, untap up to 4 target creatures. So... the front side, pretty underwhelming.
Yeah.
The back side, pretty OP.
Yeah.
Being able to give all of your non-creature spells Convoke seems insane. Being able to untap 4 creatures at the end of your end step means that you can keep up counter spells, since Convoke allows you to tap for either a color or a colorless. So if you've got these blue guys hanging out, just the 2 of them, that's a counter spell, right? That you can cast at any time without paying any mana.
Yeah.
So this seemed really good on the backside. The front side, if you read it like make 2 1/1s, this is 2 creatures to Convoke. It's almost like making 2 Llanowar Elves in a Convoke-based deck, right?
Yeah, I'm just thinking in blue, I feel like not a lot of decks other than... what kind of decks play in blue play small creatures before turn 3? I don't know.
Tokens.
Ah, yeah, I guess you're right.
Yeah, so it's like tokens, like Thopters and things like that, or
A lot of Simic. Simic could play. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe not mono blue,
I can see
but
that.
you know, I think this is actually better than it looks. I know that people have been discounting it in Constructed, but I think this might not be terrible in Constructed.
I mean, like you said, if you can get to the backside, all spells with Convoke
Backside
is
is super strong,
Yeah.
and giving you 4 mana every turn is insane.
Yeah.
So, anyway, because I mean, if you're casting instants and sorcery that make tokens, it just seems really, really good.
Yeah. I don't know. Plus the untap, if you're playing in a deck that has some broken untappers, then you're capitalizing that on as well. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to black. The next one's Invasion of Innistrad.
Invasion of Innistrad. Hey, I was there for Innistrad. I've got that one. Okay. I feel like a lot of these, I'm like, is that a plane we have or have not been to? That's why we have you. That's why we.
The only one that we've had cards reference it, but we've never been to that. I don't think.
Gotcha. Okay. Invasion of Innistrad. All right. This one's pretty what I would expect on the art. It is werewolves fighting humans. 2 colorless and 2 black pips for a battle siege that starts at 5 defense points counters. This one has flash though, and it has when it ETBs, target creature and opponent controls gets -13 until end of turn. Shout out Blasphemous Act. It flips into Deluge of the Dead. It's an enchantment. It says when it ETBs, create 2 2/2 black zombie creature tokens. Then you can pay 2 and a black and exile target creature card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, I think I read that backwards. Exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a creature card, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. So is this the only battle that has flash on it?
So far.
Okay. Interesting. This seems like a really, really fair one. This one doesn't seem broken. It's good. I mean, it's decent. I mean, it's at the floor. It's a 4-mana get rid of something huge. I mean,
it gets rid of like a Blightsteel Colossus or whatever. Its flash is nice because then you can set up a position where it can easily be removed, but your payoff is some 2/2 zombies.
Yeah, I mean,
great. I do think that this one will play better for decks that can bounce it, because there's not a lot of non-creature permanents that can be flickered that destroy creatures. So there's like a lot of like Ravenous Chupacabras, right? But if you're trying to play like a creatureless control deck that likes to flicker non-creature permanents or something, then this card is going to be pretty decent, I think.
Yeah, interesting. I'm surprised that they did -13 instead of like something else.
They've done that a bunch of times with Innistrad related cards. Tragic Slip is 1 black. It gives target creature -1/-1 at instant speed. But if a creature died this turn, it gives -13 instead.
Oh, okay. So it's something they've done before. Gotcha. That makes sense then.
Oh,
I was like, it seems odd to me, scratching my head. 13 that's repeat.
13 is an ongoing, almost like, it's not really a mechanic, but it's like a thing that they keep bringing up.
Like a bit, yeah.
Trick-the-Decaphile is like upkeep used to go up or down, and then if somebody's at 13 life, they win or lose or whatever, you know. So
I have
lots of 13 references.
I've lost to that one, yeah. All right, which battle we have next, Martin?
The last black one. So it is called Invasion of Fiora, which I don't know. Is Fiora a person? Are we invading a person?
It sounds like
now?
somebody's name for sure.
Yeah. I haven't heard of this realm. So it's a battle siege for black, and 4 colorless. When it ETBs, you choose one or both. Destroy all legendary creatures or destroy all non-legendary creatures. So you can basically cast this and wipe everything, or possibly pick and choose what'll benefit you the best. Like if you're like a all legendary or no legendary deck, you can pick the other.
Yeah, it's some Joda hate. Let's get some Joda hate. Let's go. I like it. I like it.
On the backside is Marchesa, Resolute Monarch, a legendary creature, human noble. She's a 3/6, menace and death touch. And whenever she attacks, remove all counters from up to 1 target permanent. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you haven't dealt combat damage since your last turn, you draw a card and you lose 1 life. So this card single-handedly flips other battles.
I see. I was about to. That was my first question I was going to ask. Is like, what are we taking counters off again? Battles. Makes sense. Okay. That's.
And at the beginning of your upkeep, like if you're more of a controlling deck, this card's basically reads like a Howling Mine. You draw a card.
Yeah.
At the beginning of your upkeep. So I don't know. It's interesting. Once again, I kind of like the idea of trying to flicker this battle siege.
Yeah.
So that it's a way to recur a Wrath, which is, I think, pretty strong.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
That seems like another fair one, though. I mean,
super fair. Like I said early on, I think they really tried to make sure that they didn't break it,
which is good. I mean, from a kind of new player's perspective, it's like new cards. I hear new card type, and I'm like, ooh, like people are gonna try and break it. Like they're gonna spend a lot of time trying to think about how to break it.
Yeah, exactly. And so if you end up shooting a little too low and it's just flavorful but doesn't really make people excited to play it, well, next time you can crank it up a little bit.
Yeah. There's always a next time. It's hard if you go too far and you can't really reel it back.
Right. And there's enough going on in this set that people are going to be excited to buy packs, even if the battles are kind of a flop.
Gotcha. Yeah. How can we expect to see a lot of battles in like packs? Or is there like a certain amount in each?
I think there'll be 1 battle per pack.
Oh, you're guaranteed.
I think so.
Oh, wow. That'll be so they're going to be prevalent at pre-release.
I would think so. Yes.
That's cool. That's exciting.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
It's really good.
Nice.
How about you tell us about New Phyrexia being invaded by the heroes of our story?
New Phyrexia, huh? I just saw the colorless one too. Jeez Louise. New Phyrexia.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, the best colors, Azorius. Okay. Invasion of New Phyrexia. It gives me Avengers vibes on the art. I'm not sure. That seems like a copy and paste there. It is another X battle, so it is X and Azorius, one white, one blue. Battle Siege, it starts at 6 defense points. When it ETBs, create X 2/2 white and blue knight creature tokens with vigilance. Then it flips into a planeswalker. It flips into Teferi, Akosa of Zalfir. Not sure if I'm saying that right.
No.
Zalfir.
No, I don't know about Akosa, but Zalfir is definitely.
Okay.
That's a. So that is Teferi's home
world. Okay.
that got lost into, basically it phased out of existence forever.
Wow.
And so the story here is they get rephased back in and they help save the day.
Oh, that's awesome.
So, yeah, it's kind of a nice, heartwarming story.
Nice. Okay, well...
All right, so what is Teferi?
Yes, he's a legendary planeswalker. Teferi is his creature type? Whatever.
Yeah, they're legendary planeswalker Teferi. That way it's like... At one point in time, you couldn't have multiples of the same planeswalker, even if it was different iterations, but then they changed that, and they still write it as planeswalker Teferi.
Oh, interesting. Oh, I did not know that. He has 3 abilities. His first is a +1, draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards, unless you discard a creature card. His next is -2. You get an emblem with knights you control, get +1/+0, and have ward 1. And his next is -3. I guess this is his ultimate, sort of. Tap X creatures you control. When you do, shuffle target non-land permanent and opponent controls with mana value X or less into its owner's library. And he comes in with 4 loyalty counters.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Yeah, this is... I feel like the X battles are pretty strong. This one, again, seems fair. I feel like getting a planeswalker out of a battle being defeated seems good.
Yeah,
it seems like a lot of value, but I mean,
yeah, I like that the front side protects the back side, right? You make a bunch of tokens. I like that you can emblem this guy right away. He comes into play, you -2 him, and it gives all your knights +1/+0. And then if it stays around another turn, then you can do it again, which seems pretty strong.
Yeah,
this one can't be blinked for benefit, unfortunately, because then you don't pay the X. But you could
do it. X is just 0.
yeah, or you could return it to hand and then recast it when you have more mana. So, I don't know. Once again, it seems pretty fair. This is a mythic.
Gotcha.
I don't think this is going to be incredibly good in Commander. I think this basically is going to read like generate tokens, make an emblem.
Yeah,
right?
I feel like
it's going to die, right?
Yeah. I feel like most planeswalkers though, you can't just make an emblem when they come down. That's pretty rare in and of itself, right? Unless you have like some kind of doubling season effect. Most of them like takes a second.
There's a Sorin that you can do where it gives like +1/+0 to your creature or something.
Kind of similar.
Similar kind of thing where it's like -2 and you get the token. I mean the emblem, and it sticks around.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I wonder if this is. I'm still like very curious if these can be your commander. Like I understand they can't, but like they're legendary creatures. Whenever I see a legendary creature, I'm like, can this be your plan? Because I think of the bridge one. What's the bridge card called?
Oh yeah, Prismatic Bridge, a Sika.
Yeah, she flips. It's like kind of similar.
Yeah, but the front set is a legendary.
Oh, okay, I'm backwards. Gotcha.
Yeah, so the flip sagas with like we talked about a little bit last week with the Jin Gataxias, the blue 3 colorless for 5/5 that has ward 2, and when you flip it, it turns into a saga that lets you draw the cards.
That's rough.
That can be your commander
because it's a creature on the front side. Front side's all Commander cares about. Okay.
I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's always something that, like you said, you could talk to your play group about it, and then you could do that if you really wanted to. But
0.
I don't think that's currently how it's intended to play.
Gotcha.
And I doubt that they will change that.
Gotcha.
But anyway, so next up is Invasion of Tilvada, another place I've never heard of. It is got 5 defense counters, and when it enters the battlefield, return target non-battle permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. I love this card. So it's a reanimate that you can flicker.
Oof. They should have put if it was cast. That seems really broken.
I don't know about broken, but it's good.
What's the CMC again?
5. So it's expensive reanimation spell, but the fact that it can get back any permanent that's not a battle.
Yeah.
Wow.
Interesting.
Wow.
Seems really good.
The backside, the Broken Sky, if you get rid of its 5 defense counters, Broken Sky says creature tokens you control get +1/+0 and have lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, create a 1/1 white and black spirit creature token with flying. So you're just pooping out 2/1 flyers every turn.
Yeah.
The lifelink is huge. I
feel like that seems like it's going to be played in not Commander. Correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm not super familiar, but I feel like that's powerful, right?
Yeah, I think so. So there's been a standard deck that's been going around that is uses Atraxa. Trying to reanimate her from the graveyard using the Gix Cruelty of Gix saga, where you can do read ahead, and its third part is to reanimate a creature.
Gotcha.
So this is the same casting cost. It doesn't have the flexibility that the other one has in the first 2 ones. Like the
Start
first one
in a different spot.
Yeah, you can start a different spot, which one allows you to tutor, but you lose 3 life and things like that. But a lot of times I'm immediately reanimating something.
Oh.
So if in that case, this is probably easier to cast because it's not double black. I mean, you do have to be in white and black, but I assume that's not that big of a hurdle.
Yeah.
So I don't know, possibly, but I think in Commander this is going to be good.
Yeah, I feel like this is
very exciting.
If battles are printed as much as you say, I feel like people love reanimating stuff, so I feel like this is going to be played a lot.
Yeah, exactly.
It's also a question.
There's not a lot that reanimate permanent, so this can get back Omniscience.
Oh, ow! Yeah, that hurts.
Yeah, like the one of the other ones is like Invoke Justice is quad white and 1 color also reanimates any permanent, also battles. But that thing has got some color restriction. This, you can be playing 5 color and you can play this no problems. You can't play quad white in a lot of decks.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. This is also questionably the first card that says non-battle, like the restriction, right?
Yeah, I think
maybe.
I think it might be the only one. I can't remember all of them, but I do think that's probably true.
I'm sure we're going to get a bunch more in the set or a little later, but
yeah,
I mean, like anything now, you're going to start. Is it able to interact with battles or not? When you look at your interaction for your decks, which is, I mean, it's fun.
Yeah, it is fun. It is fun. Listen, we got 2 left. Why don't you cover Invasion of Ravnica?
Ravnica. This is the one I was looking at because I got. Oh, this one looks sweet. I like it. It kind of the flip. Also, the art struck me as like the Warhammer-esque. It is 5 colorless for a battle siege that starts at 4 defense points counters. ETBs and exile target non-land permanent an opponent controls that isn't exactly 2 colors. Then it flips into Guildpact Paragon. It is an artifact creature construct that is a 5/5 and has, whenever you cast a spell that it's exactly 2 colors, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal a card that's exactly 2 colors from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Interesting. This is not the colorless card I thought it was before. I am no longer excited for this card. It's a very unique hoop, though. I was like,
I think this is just like if you are a color that has a hard time dealing with enchantments or whatever.
That's your answer.
This does.
It's another way for black to answer enchantments.
Yeah. Black answer enchantment.
Yeah.
Black to answer artifacts. because it's target non-land permanent opponent control that isn't exactly 2 colors. There's not very many artifacts that are 2 colors.
Yeah.
So this I think this is fantastic. If the price is cheap enough, this will go in almost every single commander deck, even if the back is just a 5/5.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, not like CDH is too expensive, but like for casual, this card is just so good, so flexible. Like this in blue is amazing. You can exile a permanent, bounce it back to your hand somehow, replay it again.
It's also just colorless, so if you have like a lot of cost reducers that are just X is like colorless less. X spells. I don't know. I guess most of those I'm thinking of though are specific, like they're enchantments, creatures. This is a battle siege, so that maybe it's not as applicable, but it is colorless. I guess I'm right. I should be interested in this for a colorless deck because colorless just does not have a lot of removal, and it's removal. Like you said, it's removal that flips to a 5/5. You're not even using the other part of it, but that's worth it. Interesting.
It is. It's really good. The backside, being just a 5/5 is fine. It's an artifact. It's a construct for the artifact decks. Yeah. But this card probably shines its best really in these colorless or these colors that can't really interact with certain types of permanents. But I do think this card will shine in like a Niv Mizzet deck, the ones where you can search for. You look at the top, like whatever number of cards, and you grab different guilds and you put those cards in your hand. So you're already playing a lot of 2-color cards.
Oh, okay.
Right? You got guild cards of all the different types of guilds. Yeah. So this will then also look at the top 6, and you basically pick any card put in your hand because your deck's built that way.
Yeah, I mean it's a cool hoop.
That's cool, but I think that this card. I mean, I'll jam this in my mono black deck. I'll probably jam this in any mono red decks. I'll probably jam this in red black. It's good.
Yeah,
it's good.
I like that one a lot.
It's a mythic, so I don't know. It might be kind of pricey. All right, last one is my favorite.
Save the best for last.
Card. Yes, Invasion of Alara, WUBRG. So white, blue, black, red, and green. It's a battle siege. It enters with 7 defense counters, which is a lot. But when it enters the battlefield, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile 2 non-land cards with mana value 4 or less. You may cast one of them without paying its mana cost. Put one of them in your hand. Then put the rest of the exiled cards under your library in a random order. So this is kind of like a cascade, right? So it says 4 mana or less, but it has to be a permanent. So it won't find instants or sorceries. So it'll go through until it finds a permanent that matches that description, but you actually get to find 2. So if the first one's like a mana rock in the late game, you can say, no, I don't want to do the mana rock. I want to do the Goblin Extortionist, right? Dockside.
Oh, Dockside, yeah. You know
what I mean? You take whichever one is better for you at that moment. So, but you still keep the other one, which is nice because it goes in your hand. But when you flip it, it is a sorcery, which is really odd. But Awaken the Maelstrom. Awaken the Maelstrom is all colors. Target player draws 2 cards. You may put an artifact card from your hand onto the battlefield. Create a token copy of target permanent you control. Distribute 3 +1/+1 counters among 1, 2, or 3 target creatures you control. And destroy target permanent and opponent controls.
That's so much.
Oh, yeah.
If you flip it, that is huge. That is a huge swing if you flip that.
Yeah. That's why it's 7. This is a card that I'm definitely going to want to try and flip at some point just because,
Because it sounds like fun. Yeah, it sounds like a lot of fun. Yeah. I agree. That's...
this is... I will probably build a 5-color battle deck at some point with this card as being like one of the key pieces.
Wow, dude. Yeah, that's... I'm glad it wasn't... I'm glad they did like a choose and not a double cascade, because if it was a double cascade, I feel like people would build like a weird deck that had only 2 permanents that comboed, and then they just grabbed this.
I was already thinking about doing that.
No, Martin, no.
Well, I mean, you can have your 2 permanents be like just Dockside and
a meal, and just don't do it. I got infinite mana.
Ta-da! I mean, you could use the green for ramp, so you're not using artifact-based ramp.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, it could be done in lots of instants and sorceries, or for interacting.
I guess a dumb question here, Martin. Why do you think they made it a sorcery that flipped in on an instant if it's ignoring that restriction? Is there any particular reason you see that's like really important that they did that for?
Not that I can think of.
It's interesting though, right? It's kind of weird.
It's a really good question. Maybe. Yeah, no, I really don't know.
Like that
Make any sense?
seems like a sorcery that's basically an instant. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
Okay, let's move on to cards that work well.
Yes.
So we mentioned earlier that as this is a new type, there's not a lot of cards that interact with them. There's not any cards that say destroy target battle or, reanimate target battle or anything like that. So things that would target battles have to target permanents. So I just want to kind of go through some cards together and talk about how they could be good for battles, what they should be, what you should be keeping an eye out for. But first and foremost, I think it's thematic and appropriate that Elish Norn is one of the best battle enablers. Mother of Machines, white, 4 colorless, 4/7. You know her. She's Armani. If a permanent enters the battlefield, causes the triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So this means all of your battles do double duty.
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That is a very cool. I didn't even think about that. It's literally the same. So that's really. That's very.
It's the
Same story.
right?
Yeah. She's
doing
the
all these
invasion, and then
invasions.
she makes the invasion
Like,
better. Oh.
Permanents entering the battlefield don't cause abilities of your opponents to control, so to trigger. So that also stops any battles opponents are trying to do. So pretty cool.
She is the ultimate battle tactician. It makes sense.
Yeah.
Tacticianist.
So one of the favorites, I think that's going to be the best and probably the easiest to work around is going to be flicker effects. I know you are a fan of the flickering.
Fun. It's very fun. You should try it.
I also like
Yeah.
it. I built Amanatu deck, and Amanatu is actually the first card on my flicker strategy.
Seems like a good one.
So Amanatu is a blue, white, and black for a Planeswalker that's got 3 loyalty, +1, and you can draw a card and put a card from your hand on top of your library. You're -1, exile another target permanent you control, then return it to the battlefield under your control. So Amanatu can actually just flicker battles for -1 each time because it's any permanent you own. So that's pretty nice. It also could bounce other permanents, so you could do a lot of ETB shenanigans in that deck, and battles just happen to be good in there too.
Yeah.
Remember the black ones that destroy creatures and all
minus
that?
13. That's a perfect one. Yeah. Makes sense.
-13
For a double
or
removal. Yeah.
destroy all creatures.
Wow.
That one is also really good, I think, in this deck. So I think Amatatu is wins a lot here from this.
Yeah.
Other ones, though, like Displacer Kitten is any permanent. That seems amazing. Flicker Wisp, Yorion, Brago, Blizzard Strix, Skybind, Glimmerpoint Stag. All of these all have the same kind of effects.
I love me some Glimmerpoint Stag. That card is just chef's kiss.
You could really do an Esper or a just blue-white based flicker battle deck. I haven't seen a lot of battles that I want to be flickering in blue-white, though. I do like the black ones. Those are really good. So I do think that there's something that you can do there, and we definitely keep an eye for it. There's 2 of them that are my favorites, though. So Venser, the Sojourner, is a Planeswalker that's after my own heart, 5 mana. Its +2 is going to exile target permanent you own, return it to the battlefield under your control at the next end step. So it doesn't come back right away, but it does come back to give you that bonus.
You're still getting it twice. Yeah,
exactly. So pretty good. Displacer Kitten's also probably one of the best ones on here. But I found this card I didn't even know existed.
Ooh.
Have you heard of this card? Scholar of New Horizons.
Scholar of New Horizons. I can't say I have. What does Scholar do?
It's a white and a colorless for a human scout. It enters the battlefield with a +1/+1 counter.
Okay.
You can tap it and remove a counter from a permanent you control. Search your library for a Plains card and reveal it. If any opponent has more lands than you put it in the battlefield tapped. If you don't, put the card on the battlefield, then put it in your hand. So this isn't really flicker, but this kind of goes into our next area, which is removing counters. It's only one counter, but the fact that you actually get a real tangible benefit from it, I think makes it pretty good.
Interesting. Like a catch-up ramp mechanic, but then I guess the counters probably didn't really matter up until this point, where it's like, okay, you still control the battle, so you can remove the counter.
Yeah, because you still control the permanent, even though it's on the opponent's battlefield. You control the battle, even though it's under the other side's battlefield, right? Because they're the one defending it, but you control it. So if anything says remove a counter from a permanent you control, it also works. But the biggest one, and I think a lot of people have been talking about it, is Vampire Hexmage. It's a black for a 2/1 Vampire Shaman. It's got first strike. You can sack it, and you can remove all counters from target permanent.
Oh yeah, so you just flip whichever battle you want to flip, basically. Oh wow, I'm sure that card is about to shoot up in price.
Well, there's been a lot of printings, and it's an uncommon.
Oh, never mind then. Perfect.
And the foil is, so I think that you'll always be able to find base copies of this relatively cheap. Might be a couple bucks at the end of the day, but it's not going to be crazy expensive. And it's also a kind of card that they print a lot in master sets. That's why it's been printed so many times.
Oh, cool.
It combos with Dark Depths.
Ah, boo.
Yeah, so it's already the retro foil from one of I think it's from Time Spiral. The retro foil is already $15 before this stuff hits, so it's already high value because of that.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's a bunch of other ones that do stuff like this, like Hex Parasite. You pump mana into it, and then you can remove counters equal to that.
It's interesting. I feel like I've built a Saga deck before and tried to play around with the idea of removing counters, and usually it's a pretty it's hard. The way that WotC has printed cards that remove counters, it's really cost inefficient. Generally, that I'm it usually it costs a lot of mana, and it's but maybe it's worth it for the battles where it's it's a good investment if you can, especially if you can flip. If you can flip, yeah, that makes sense.
The ones that I like Power Conduit's a good one. It's 2 mana for an artifact, so it's not like a creature on a body that you know. Yeah, you can remove a counter from a permanent you control, so any permanent, and then you get to put either a charge counter on an artifact or a +1/+1 counter on a creature. So you're able to convert those battle counters to creature power to further take away battle. So I think this card is good if you're in a heavy battle deck. You probably do want to have some other counter synergies, either the charge counters with artifacts or +1/+1 counter synergies for creatures.
Yeah. I just realized too, there's I don't know if there's multiple cards, but there is that one Rhino card that cares about the types of counters you have. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess this is a new kind of counter we got too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there is one battle we probably should have talked about that I didn't bring up.
Is it the Zendikar one?
Might be. Is that the one that fetches lands?
It is. It fetches 2 basic. Is it basics?
Yeah, two basic land cards. Put them on the battlefield tapped. Yeah, so it's a 4 mana. It only has 3 counters on it, which means it's going to be really easy to flip. And then the backside is Awakened Skyclave, which is a 4/4 with Vigilance and Haste and can be tapped in for any color mana. So that's pretty good. If you think about it, as long as you can do 3 damage to this, the turn it comes down, then you're able to get 3 mana worth.
This is better than Cultivate, no?
Yeah.
I think so.
This is power creep, dude. What the heck, man? This is power creep my lifetime. Get out of here.
Yeah, because you're getting 3 mana from it, right? You're getting the 2 lands, plus you're getting this creature that taps for mana. It's a land in addition to its other types, so a lot of removal won't hit it because a lot of it's non-land permanents or whatever.
Yeah.
Destroy all
oh, I didn't think about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so this has got some synergies. I like this card a lot. This card is good.
Wow, dude, that's gonna be a popular one. And I'm really bad. Remind me again. Is this a mythic or no? I always get the colors uncommon. Okay, I get the colors messed up. I know that's dumb. I know it's dumb.
common. Oh,
It looks-
which one is?
I feel like okay, yeah, that's just dumb.
One thing that's interesting is Glissa Sunslayer, green, black, and a colorless 3/3, first strike, death touch, Phyrexian zombie elf. We talked about this guy a while back on the All Will Be One spoilers. Whenever it does damage to a player, you can either do one of three. We really focused on draw a card and lose a life, or destroy target enchantment. Those were really good. But you can also remove up to 3 counters from target permanent.
Wow,
So
you could flip this immediately. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I think this one should have had more. They should have given this one more defense counters. 3 does not seem like enough for the like. That's crazy.
Nah,
It'll be fine.
The other new Glissa that's actually coming out in this set is Glissa Herald of Predation. 3 colorless, a green, and a black. It says the beginning of combat on your turn, you get to choose one of the following: incubate twice. Oh, incubate 2 twice. Incubate makes incubator token artifacts with +1/+1 counters equal to the incubate. So in this case, it would be you would create 2 artifacts with 2 +1/+1 counters on them.
2/2s?
And they're not 2/2 creatures. You have to pay 2 to transform the artifact.
Oh, okay.
And it turns into a Phyrexian artifact creature that's a 0/0.
Gotcha,
So yeah,
gotcha.
basically you create some things that can become creatures later. They're like foods, but instead of paying 2 and gaining 3 life, you get 2 and then you turn into a creature.
Gotcha.
You also can choose that, or so if you had a big incubate deck, you could be just turning them all into creatures so that you can attack. And then last and the most relevant, so lots of different ones like this. I mean, like Cemetery Desecrator was from like Innistrad, that like when it comes to play, you exile a card from a graveyard and remove X counters from a target. So it can single-handedly come in and kill a creature, or it can come in and just flip a battle, which is kind of cool. Plus, it's graveyard hate. 6 mana is a lot, but it's still pretty cool.
Yeah.
You can always do burn, because burn does like they're reprinting Stoke the Flames.
Oh,
That's a convoke 4 mana, do 4 damage to any target. So that could do 4 damage for free, just tapping creatures.
love me some direct damage. It's always
Yeah.
fun. I feel like it's.
Now, oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I was just saying. I feel like it's encouraging playstyle that is generally most Commander players enjoy. Where it's like it's not necessarily it's actively not benefiting people that are not playing creature or not. It's not benefiting people that are not actively putting creatures on the board and like playing like Battlecruiser Magic, more or less, in my opinion. Because it's like if you're not doing that, you're not going to have blockers, and people are going to be able to take advantage of the fact that you're not playing creatures. So like the more like you think of like Enchantress players or combo players that are trying to like have one big storm turn or like play solitaire. It's like, okay, well, you're trying to encourage people to play that kind of Magic that people generally enjoy more. But I don't know, it's really interesting. I think they did a good job on these battles.
Yeah, I do too. There are 2 cards that I think do the best job of removing counters.
Okay.
Ether Snap, it's a black, and 3 colorless for a sorcery, and it says remove all counters from all permanents and exile all tokens. The exile all tokens, I guess, could be a hampering if your deck was built differently, but removing all counters, you could do that as 5 mana, just flip all your battles, which is pretty good, I think. It's a little narrow, so you'd have to be like the battle deck.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. The one that I think though is super good is Thief of Blood. Have you heard of this card?
I have not.
Her hunger will not be denied, my friend.
Doesn't sound like it.
So it's 4 colorless and a black for a flying 1/1 vampire, and that's it.
That sounds awesome.
No, when it enters the battlefield, you remove all counters from all permanents, and it enters with +1/+1 counters on it for each counter removed this way.
It's like a Bane of Progress for counters.
Yeah.
That's sick, dude.
Yeah.
That's sick.
So I like this better than Ether Snap because this is a big threat. So you play this and you flip 3 or 4 battles, but it also ends up being like a 15-15 or a 20-20 with evasion. So I'm a pretty big fan of this card.
Bro, does that hit Planeswalkers too?
Yeah.
That's a sweet card.
Yeah. It also like just incidentally hoses +1/+1 counter decks and things like that.
Yeah. Wow. Huh.
Also hoses the incubator tokens because those things have +1/+1 counters on it. I don't know. Just seems like a pretty strong card. It's an uncommon. It's like 50 cents or $1 right now. I would pick some up if you'd be interested. Pick one up if you're interested in building the deck because it doesn't have a lot of printings.
So it could shoot up if.
Yeah, I mean it's uncommon, but it could still get up to a few bucks if that's a card you'd want to get into. But yeah, so those are all of the different ways to remove counters. Talked about that. Then there's a couple cool cards that I think can be called out here, like Spirit Sister's Call. It's a white and a colorless. I mean, a white and a black and 3 colorless for an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, choose a permanent card in your graveyard. You sacrifice a permanent that shares a type with that, and then you flip-flop them. And then the new one, then if it would be leave the battlefield for anywhere, you exile it instead. But the way this works is that the battles exile whenever you remove their counters. So there's not an instead here.
Oh, it just stops.
Then you can then cast it. So basically, any of your battles that you get back with this don't have the downside unless somebody actually destroys it on the battlefield and not removes its counters. So I think this card is really good for battles, in particular.
That brings up a dumb question that I have, Martin. If I flip my battle and then I blink the creature and enchantment, does it come back as the battle siege or does it come back as the creature?
The front side of the card.
Interesting.
Yeah. So you could realistically get a battle, flip it, sack the creature to get a creature back from your graveyard with this, and then end up having that battle. You sack a battle later to get it back, and then you can flip it into a creature. I mean, it's just like an engine. Yeah, I do think Spirit Sister's Call is really good at battles.
Yeah, it seems like a really it's a high value play.
Right.
Kind of annoying.
Yeah.
I don't like flipping cards. I don't know how you feel about it when they're in the sleeves. Kind of bugs me out. That's why some of the sagas have always bugged me out when it's like you're reaching the sleeve and flipping it, but beside the point.
Well, if I do that, if I have something, I always double sleeve.
To be on the safe side. That makes sense.
Yeah. We talked about Invoke Justice earlier. It's the quad white and a colorless sorcery. Return target permanent card from the graveyard to the battlefield. It also can target a saga. It also gives +1/+1 counters to creatures or vehicles that player controls. So not bad. Amirius Shepherd. It's a 5 and 2 white for a 4/4 flying angel. Whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may return target non-land permanent from your graveyard to your hand. But if it was a plains, instead it goes to the battlefield. So this could just bring back sagas whenever you play a plains. So that could be strong, could be fun. But I think the best of the bunch is Cosmic Intervention.
I love that card.
Yeah, it's super good. And in this case, I think it's really fun. So white and 3 colorless, if a permanent you control will be put into a graveyard from the battlefield this turn, exile it instead, and then return it under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step, and you can foretell it for a white and a colorless.
Shout out the Raynar Precon. Let's go.
Raynar, yeah. I mean, a lot of the cards in Raynar, like if there are good battles in white and blue that you think would be good in Raynar, they probably would just naturally be strong in that deck.
Yeah. Because
of so many ways to abuse the ETBs. But I like this one because I like the idea of building up. I kind of like these Armageddon style like blow ups, right? So you set up either like the vampire where you can flip all of them at once, or you set it up with like a sack outlet where you sack all the permanents and then bring them back with Cosmic Intervention. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I feel like I've played that card quite a few times, and it can swing a game very quickly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And then the last one is not a real big hit, but it seems kind of fun. It's a green, black, and 4 colorless. For each permanent type, return up to one of the card of that type from your graveyard to the battlefield, and you lose 3 life for each card returned this way. So, not a lot of ways to get permanents back from the graveyard, but this would be one that can get back a battle. So
Yeah.
wanted to.
No, that's a really good call out for other cards that mention card types as well, because it is another card type. So those cards are just naturally better now. I mean,
Yeah,
that's how we discovered Battle was even a card type, right? I mean,
yeah. There are some things to be aware of though, like that can harm you, and that's opponents proliferating. So proliferation has become a real thing in the last set.
Interesting.
So, downside would be is if people are out there proliferating your battles, it might be harder to flip them.
Yeah. Interesting.
So that's about all I've got today.
Excellent.
Did you ever have anything else that is confusing about battles? I feel like we really exhausted.
No,
the
I mean, I
topic.
think most of my questions I feel like you had a pretty good answer for. I think that I'm really excited to go to pre-release and get a bunch of these and throw them in decks and see how they play. I think it's going to be a really fun interaction with combat now. For believe it or not, blockers is now going to be even more relevant. I don't know. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, so we've only got about 158 cards spoiled out of the 233, so we still have another bunch of cards. I think we've got half of the mythics spoiled so far. It seems like based on the ones we've got covered so far, they're predominantly black, red, and green.
Okay.
So for whatever reason, it seems like Jund is the biggest number of them. That could just be coincidence.
I mean, I feel like
I'm not sure.
you're a pretty heavy Jund player yourself, Mark. Maybe you just got those Jund glasses on. I don't know.
No, there's like seriously,
No.
I think one or two. No, I think there's one white one and two blue ones. While there's like three or more of the other colors. And I think it could just be coincidence, right? Like these are just the ones that have been spoiled so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be that they're pretty evenly spread out among them instead of it being like a color-based mechanic.
Yeah, that's true.
Are there any spoilers that you've seen that you feel like stand out and that you're excited to get your hands on?
I mean, I guess like you said, for my deck specifically, I guess the colorless battle, I probably will definitely pick that up. I don't know about any of the the other battles. I don't know. I feel like I'll definitely just jam them in and see how they work, because I feel like it'll be a fun playtest card. I don't know.
Yeah.
That Jink Taxis card is terrible though. I'm not excited to play against that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's relatively easy to. I mean, it's kind of cumbersome.
Yeah.
One of the cards I'm really excited about, and I picked up some for my collection, is it's a blue, red, and a colorless for a 2/4 first strike menace human. And whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, you may cast a spell with lesser mana value that shares a card type with it from your hand without paying its mana cost. If you don't, create First Mate Ragavan, a legendary 2/1 red monkey pirate. So this card is pretty insane in a very particular context. If you have the the suspend 0 mana cost cards,
Yeah.
this does all of those really well. So if you cast a sorcery, then you could cast like the Gaia's, the green one that has no casting cost. You get to play cards from your graveyard that turn. It's like a Yawgmoth's Will. So pretty strong. You could also play like, for free, you could play like Living Death, or you could play the Ancestral where you draw the card. Yeah.
The Soul.
So there's
the
a lot
soul
of
ring.
those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so I think it's pretty interesting, and it could probably create some pretty explosive turns. I just love ways to be able to cheat out those cards. It just really feels busted.
Yeah. Yep.
So I already picked up some of those. They were relatively cheap. So
It's awesome, man. Yeah, I feel like it might be because we're just talking about it a lot, and I'm like much more aware of the cards. But it seems like a lot of the cards in this set are really powerful.
yeah, actually, I feel like the last couple sets have been that way.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like it was Innistrad. Both of those sets were kind of meh. Kamigawa was really strong.
Kamigawa was awesome.
Then like New Capenna had some good stuff for Commander, but otherwise like the set's power level was relatively
It's pretty
low.
narrow. Yeah.
Yeah. And then what was it? Dominaria United and Brothers War had some good stuff. Brothers War was pretty strong.
Yeah. Baldur's Gate.
But yeah, there's a
people
lot of
hated.
strong cards. There's definitely some 60 card cards in this set.
Yeah.
Like, one had a lot of commander cards, but not a lot of like 60 card format cards. I think this set's gonna have a lot of 60 card format.
Which scares me price wise. I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, oh, did you see Sea Double, the instant blue 2 colorless?
No.
This card is dope. Can't be copied, thank God. Otherwise, you go infinite. Play ham sandwich. Choose one, and if your opponent has 8 or more cards in their graveyard, an opponent, then you can choose both. Copy target spell, and you can choose new targets for the copy, and create a token that's a copy of target creature.
Dude, for 4 mana, what?
Yeah. So 4 mana,
That's really good.
you get to copy something and clone something. It's gonna be fun.
All right, guys, that wraps it up for this week. Thank you so much for listening. This has been Cooking with Cardboard. Please feel free to reach us on Twitter. You can contact me at cardboard_cooks, and you can find Martin at golem_mtg. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for listening.